WOCA.
Ocala.
With the sun and it burns until the day.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock, it's time to learn a little bit more about the horse industry and horses in general. We see those beautiful animals out there everywhere we go in Marion County, and many of us, if you're like me, just kind of admire them from afar, and now we're getting to know how wonderful they are, how much they contribute to us, and how easy it is actually to take a tour of some of those farms. Dori Morgan is here with Mark Shuffitt, representing the Equine Alliance of Marion County. The show is called Horse Sense, and if your phone calls are always welcome. The number is 622-WOCA. Good morning, Mark, and good morning, Dori. How you doing?
Good morning. Great.
Morning, Larry.
Were you with any horses today?
Today, every day.
Every day? You've already tended to the horses, whatever their needs were? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, got a regular job, so take care of them in the morning and go to work. But yeah.
Well, and I have employees at the horse farm, so they're working. They're there before I get up. Working
constant
on the
need,
farm.
huh?
Constantly.
Yeah.
There's a this morning noticed a few trailers next door. I work at the extension office on Jacksonville Road, and we're next to the livestock pavilion.
Right.
The place has been pretty active this week, setting up for a barrel race that starts this evening. So those horses are pulling in. Will be all day. They'll barrel race tonight. I believe that starts at 7. And then they barrel race tomorrow and Sunday as well. So 3 different sets of competitions with 3 different purse structures each day. There is no admission charge.
Oh, wow.
There's entry fees for the contestants. This is, I'll probably say it wrong. It's not Gold Coast. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not, Dori. This barrel, Trail of Champions, maybe.
Okay.
And I'll probably get it wrong. But anyway, if you'd like to come out tonight or tomorrow or Sunday and see a bunch of horses run barrels, they'll have a pile of horses there, and there's nice seating. It's a covered arena, so it's going to happen.
So is the winner in that kind of an event judged subjectively? Is that the word, or objectively, or is it like a race where there's
it's a race?
Absolute.
It's a race, and that's what I like about stuff like that, and that's what I like about horse racing as well. You bring your best, and you work against the clock, and you can't argue with the clock.
Yeah. You're the winner, you don't, right?
You're the winner, you don't. It's interesting. The format that they run the barrels in lately, started a few years ago. Used to be you'd go run barrels and they would pay back maybe one place for every 7 entries that they had. Okay. Or some formula like that. What changed and made it a little more interesting and spreads the money around some is they'll run, I believe these are all 4D barrel races.
What does that mean?
What they'll do is so you'll have a true winner, the fastest time of, say there's 200 horses that run tonight or that run tomorrow, but you have a true winner by time, and so say that is, for ease of figuring, say that's 16 seconds, like 16.000.
Okay.
So they will pay that person, and then they will pay the second fastest time and depending on how many horses enter, you know, maybe they pay 3 or 4 holes in each of the division. But if the fastest time is 16.000, then the 2D would be 16.5. And so the person that had as close to 16.5, a half second back, then they would win 2D money.
Okay.
And they would have 3 or 4 places paid in 2D.
Is it a lot of money? Is it?
Depends on how many horses are entered. It can be substantial. You know, in the hundreds of dollars. A lot of these big barrel races will have sponsorships and have money added to the entry fees. So you pay an entry fee. Entry fees vary depending on the venue and that kind of stuff. But then you may have lots of times you'll have local sponsors that'll kick in money, and they'll say, all right, we're going to add $1,000 to the pot that gets dispersed. There was a barrel race in January, and I believe it was $10,000 added. So in addition to the entry fees they collected, they had $10,000 added to the pot for distribution. So every D, which is a time division, is a half second back from whatever the fastest time was.
Okay.
So you can fall into cracks. You could actually be faster than 16.5,
right,
but slower than 16.0 and not get paid.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
Well, that's what I said. That's the format, but it spreads the money.
It doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Someone thought it was a good idea.
It spreads the money around.
If I understand it, it just seems wrong or something.
Yeah, but that's the 4D or 5D format.
Mark, you've generated a call. Do you want to take it?
Sure.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
We have several dogs, you know, and with a dog, you got to have a license for the dog and proof of rabies shot and so on and so forth. What's the deal when you have a horse? Do you have to have that horse licensed and proof of shots and stuff?
No, currently you don't have to have, and I'm glad. Currently, you don't have to have a license to own a horse. If you transport a horse within the state of Florida, so if I take him from my house to a rodeo grounds or a racetrack, I have to go with proof of Coggins, which is it's a disease of horses that it's easy enough to pull a blood sample on, and you have a negative Coggins that you travel with. If I go out of state, I'm required to carry that Coggins and a certificate of health inspection from a veterinarian to get back and forth across the state lines, and that's about it. Now, if you travel to other venues, sometimes not sometimes, you need to check with whatever venue you're traveling to, because occasionally venues will say, if you're coming to our place, we want you to show proof that you've been vaccinated for this or that or the other thing. So no, we are not required to license horses to own them. Now, if you're racing horses, you have to have a racing license. You need to have an owner's license.
Oh, really? A racing license?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That kind of stuff. But just, Larry, if you want to go buy a horse today,
Yeah.
you can go buy a horse and no license required.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
Appreciate the call. Wow. So do we have a lot of people who are like new to the area and never owned a horse and decide, I'm going to get a horse? Do we have a lot of that?
Oh, yeah. I run into it quite a bit. People have loved horses all their life, and suddenly now they're financially able to buy a small piece of property where they can have a horse, and now they want to have a horse, to ride or...
And they make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they usually do. But, usually they buy a horse, and they luckily a lot of times have a trainer. They want to take riding lessons. So
that would make sense.
That person helps them along the way. Or maybe they had horses as a kid, but never had horses since then because of other things in their life. And now that they're older, it's like, okay, the kids are grown. I can now get a horse again.
Yeah.
A lot of the calls, some of the calls that I get at work related specifically to what I do is people have had horses somewhere else and probably boarded them.
Right.
So they didn't have a piece of property. Some of these people had folks that were taking care of their horses. Some of them simply rented a pasture or a stall or both and provided the care for the horse, but didn't own the property. So I get a lot of calls when people move here and say, well, I've had horses for 20 years, or we've shown horses for 20 years, or, you know, whatever, bred, raised, but they've never owned a piece of property. So they have a lot of questions about, you know, what do I need to be thinking about as the owner of a piece of property? I never worried about it before. So do I need to fertilize? What kind of...
I would have a million questions.
What kind of fence? You know, what kind of herbicides are available for me? You know, so owning a horse and renting a place is a lot different than owning a place that you need to take care of as well. So they have a lot of questions about that.
Mark Shuffitt and Dori Morgan are here to answer your horse questions. We need to take a 30-second break for weather, and then you guys have a chance to mention your sponsors. We'll do that right now. This is The Source, WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine mixing with clouds today. There'll be a thunderstorm or two in the area this afternoon and evening. The high today, 88 to 92. Partly cloudy overnight, low 71 to 75. For tomorrow, times of sun and clouds with a shower or thunderstorm around, mainly in the afternoon and evening. The high, 88 to 92. For Sunday, variable cloudiness with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, high 89 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
All right, thank you, Joe. 14 minutes now before 10 o'clock. Let's return to Horse Sense. From the Equine Alliance of Marion County, Mark Shuffitt and Dori Morgan here educating us about the animals that they love. And Mark's getting up and walking away. Dori, did you want to mention sponsors?
Yes, I'll go ahead and mention the sponsors right now so we don't forget. But we do want to mention FTBOA, which is the Florida Thoroughbred Breeders Association, is a sponsor. They're the registry of all the thoroughbred horses, and also kind of does an outreach for all equine. Also Infinite Day Spa, which is downtown, does a great job of having a nice spa for massages and other things, make you feel good. We have a new sponsor, which is the Southeast AgNet. It's a multimedia enterprise dedicated to the Southeast agriculture. So they have a newsletter and do a lot of research for a lot of the different agricultural venues. So they're now on board. So you can find them at southeastagnet.com. And of course, we do have the Blue Jays and images by El DeMarco. So again, you can find us on Facebook, Horse Sense on Facebook, and then on the website, Equine Alliance of Marion County, and follow us there.
Yeah. You know, all the information you were just giving, I was just thinking to myself, if it were the average person nowadays, they go to Google or they go to YouTube, right? I would rather go to somebody local who can just sit with me, maybe even look at my horse and tell me what I need to know. You know?
And a lot of people do that. I mean, Mark's the ag
That's
extension,
what I do.
That's what he does. And of course, where I work at Farm Credit, you know, doing loans to people with horse farms, a lot of people come in and they have questions like, okay, I'm buying the farm, now who do I go to? How do I get fencing? How do I do this? And that's another part of my job. And they're like, oh my gosh, you know everybody in the area. And it's not only because of my job, but because I have a horse farm. You know, well, here's some of the veterinarians you can call. Here's some of the farriers. You know, you go to people that you know to give you those sources of information.
So who's easier to work with, the guy or the lady who just outright says, I know nothing, please help me, or the guy who watched the video for the last 2 days and says, I know a little bit?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Number one is easier. Yeah.
When people, my job as a livestock agent is I do a lot of consulting work. And had a really good discussion with the lady yesterday. It happened to be about cattle, but she came and had lots of questions about wanting to buy and get in the cattle business. And so she left, and her opinion was much different when she left than when she started the conversation, because she thought one thing, but then when you started explaining the industry and the details and what was going on currently, she's like, oh, well, I'm really glad I came, and I'm gonna go back and talk to my brother and I'll tell him what you told me and discuss this. And so we have those same kind of horse questions, and but it's like getting a horse. If you start training a horse that has not been trained, then you don't have to untrain them or try to remove any bad habits or bad behavior. So if you get a horse that's kind of a mess by, confusion, or has been taught one way or has been taught different from the way that I would like to teach him, before you can teach him what it is that you want to teach him, you have to unteach him
right.
what he knows. So it's always easier to take a blank slate and start with the blank slate, and somebody that's got an open mind. And
that's if you have the proper help to train, with the open mind. You just can't have that blank slate and say, oh, well, I'm just going to wing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't train a horse to do something different than what you've been trained. Oh, you can?
You can.
Sure.
I mean, it's just harder. It depends on the horse. It's harder, and it depends on how that experience was and how different you're taking them and training him to do something different. If he had bad experiences, then that's hard. But, like race horses all the time have a whole second career after they're done racing. A lot of people think, oh, you can't train them to do anything else. They're just going to run away and go fast. Oh, no, they become trail horses. They become jumpers. They,
really? They pull the cart around downtown?
They can.
Sure.
Typically not, but...
Did I ever ask you about horseshoes? We had a guest on one time who was absolutely opposed to horseshoes, and it was kind of over my head. So I kind of wish we kind of had you on the show.
I've got a mare. I just had feet done this week, and we've got a mare at home that she carries shoes on her front end, and the other two horses are barefoot.
Yeah.
One is retired.
So it's different for each horse.
Just
One's
like
a
people.
competition.
I mean,
Sure.
when I'm not at work, I'm barefoot. I mean, I love to be barefoot, but I know people, my husband, he cannot walk around without shoes. It hurts his feet. He said.
Oh, okay.
So some horses have very sensitive feet, and it depends what you're using them for. I use mine in competition in carriages, but we're on sand and grass. They don't need to have shoes on.
And the nails that actually hold the shoes on, am I wrong about that? They're nails, right?
Yeah, but they go into, just like your fingernail.
Okay.
When you clip it, you have no feeling there. It goes into the nail part.
But does it stay on for a very long time? Or?
4 to 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Depend again how long you use them.
Or so.
And how hard. I mean, if you.
But I've got a mare at home that carries shoes on her front end, and it wouldn't matter whether. And she's a competition mare, but it wouldn't matter whether she was competition or not. She needs shoes on her front end, and it keeps her feet. Her feet want to break and chip off at the end and around the sides of the wall. So she's a thin wall, a horse.
Like your fingernails. Some are thin and break
You
easy.
see people that have trouble keeping their fingernails, manicured or whatever. So a lot of that is based on the needs of the horse.
And do you do that yourself, or is there a special horseshoe person?
There's a special horseshoe.
It's a
Some
job.
people do it themselves, but it's a hard work. Bending over, holding the foot, filing it, cleaning it, putting a shoe on. And so majority of the people do hire what's called a farrier. And of course, it is one of the oldest professions.
I would imagine, yeah.
Because you think way back when horses, that was your mode of transportation. I mean, they had farriers back in Roman times. So it's a very, very old profession. There are schools for it, but a lot of it is handed down from father to son. They learn from their father, and then some of them go on to farrier school. But you rely on your farrier for a lot of issues just besides putting on shoes. I mean, if your mare or, whatever horse you have has a sore foot, an abscess or some sort of sore in there, he's the one to go-to person to help you fix it.
There are some pretty unique specialties within the horse industry, and if you drive around town, you'll see a lot. I'll see them sometimes in the parking lot here at the mall. Even you'll see these farrier trucks, and they'll have the picture of an anvil or, Joe Smith's farrier service and a phone number. There are lots and lots of farriers in Marion County.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a very in-demand job, particularly. This time of year, we're coming up for the yearling sale this month at OBS, And so all of those babies,
you want them looking pretty. You,
know,
want
they
those
want 'em-
feet nice and just like getting your nails done. You want them very nice and pretty because you're going to a sale.
not a detail overlooked in those things. And so that's a lot of feet to trim and a lot of shoes to put on. And when they stand those horses up, you know, they want them for preview at the sale. They want every hair in place. And
So who shows up at the sale? Are they representatives of buyers, or do buyers actually show
Both.
up?
Both.
Some people want to go look and buy their own, but there's a lot of what we call bloodstock agents, and they will be there buying on behalf of somebody that is not in this town. Maybe they're in Europe. And so they come here and look at horses that they've been either look at these, they'll get a list, say, look at these horses for me, or they will pick the horses to look at and say, hey, I found a horse that fits your program. You know, here's what I think I can get it for, this price.
One of the things that we want to do as the Equine Alliance is invite and encourage people to go to places like OBS and that barrel race I was talking about earlier. There's not an admission, and at OBS during the yearling sale, there's not an admission. They've got a.
You just sit and watch, and
You can sit and watch. There's a restaurant there. There's a tiki bar there. There's plenty of video monitors for watching. What is going on. You can sit in air-conditioned comforts. You can go outside to the preview arena and really get a handle on what's going on. And to that end, we had a committee meeting the other day, and we're planning to do a Horse Sense business exchange. That'll be in October in conjunction with the October sale. But we bring business people out and let them experience and see how maybe they can market their goods and service to this group of people. We have tremendous amount of influx of out-of-town folks when these sales are going on.
And horse shows.
And horse shows as well. Again, the barrel race I talked about earlier, they come from all over the state for this.
So I didn't want to ask because I hate looking stupid in front of you, Mark, but I'm going to do it again. But a barrel, are they jumping over barrels or around them? Or what are they?
No, they run a clover leaf pattern.
It's a clover leaf pattern around 3 barrels.
So the barrels are set up. Let's say we're on radio, not TV. So the barrels are set up in a triangle pattern, and say that from the first barrel to the second barrel is 70 or 75 feet, and then from the second barrel to the third barrel it'd be 90 feet or something like that.
All right.
So
and they've got to run around them.
And you can run either right-handed or left-handed, which means you can go in and take the barrel immediately to your right, which would be a right-hand turn, run across the arena to the second barrel, that is a left-hand turn, go to the third barrel at the peak of the triangle, that's another left-hand turn, and come out. Or you can run it on the left-hand side, where you would make one left-hand turn and then go make 2 right-hand turns.
Looping around the barrels in the figure of a clover leaf.
Yeah.
And do you train the horses?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Exactly
Absolutely.
that same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you train, okay, so
Yeah.
they know what
They know, and
Yeah.
the good barrel horses, I mean, you just hold on.
they'll do it for you.
They're
hang
going to
on.
do. When they
Oh,
get
wow.
to a certain level, I mean, all you have to do is say which way we going first, left or right, and
Wow.
and hold on and get them going as fast as you can.
Everything that we do with these horses, regardless of the discipline, lots and lots and lots and lots of practice hours in the
Yeah, I
practice
bet.
pen. There's all kinds of patterns. They run a set of 6 poles, weave in and out, run down, weave in and out, run out. For jumping, lots and lots of practice on, they start jumping horses. Dori knows a lot more about that than I do, but they start jumping horses with just a pole on the ground. Mm-hmm. That's their first jump.
Is that
It's
right?
Yeah.
Just jump
a
over the pole.
Just jump over
just walk over it. I mean, that's their first
Just get used
jump.
to
You
it,
want
huh?
to get them starting to use that hind end, so you'll start them on groundwork, and then you gradually move those poles up higher and higher.
Well, you make me want to go to OBS and experience that. I've been there once. I won $12. So I felt
Okay.
good.
Hey.
I think I lost 20, but I
Oh,
won
well,
12.
you
I
don't
talk
count
about
those.
Yeah,
You don't talk about those.
But it does sound like something fun, and the barrel racing sounds like something fun to watch.
Yeah, there's
They're
always
all
something.
fun. I mean, each horse show and has its little quirks to it, so I find them all interesting to watch.
We're out of time. Do you want to give a phone number or the Facebook?
Facebook. Check us out on Facebook and check out our Equine Alliance website.
And
yes.
Facebook is Horse Sense. So
Horse Sense SoCal. Facebook.
Mark Shuffitt and Dori Morgan, thank you both. Thank you for coming and doing this.
See you next week.
We'll take a little break. Be right back.
Follow me, we'll make it through.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. A slower pace for job growth, but it's the 6th month in a row of at least 200,000 new jobs.
The Labor Department says